Madam President, thank you. This is a sad day when we thought we had a victory for those across the nation who are awaiting a transplant, an organ for transplant. We found that they were thwarted by a system that was allied against them, a corrupt system, an internal system that worked to their detriment, not to their well-being. And we thought with the passage of this legislation, signed into law by President Biden, that we were finally giving those waiting for a transplant something called hope, something that is so important to them and their family members, waiting on a kidney, waiting on a liver. The only pleasure I take in today's conversation on this Senate floor is that I'm allied with Senator Grassley, the senior senator from Iowa, who is one of the most effective members of this body in our country's history. And he has been an advocate, and we successfully worked together, along with a number of our colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, to reform this corrupt system. And I join my colleague, Senator Grassley, in voicing serious concerns regarding the way Human Resources Services Administration is implementing this piece of legislation. The legislation called Securing U.S. Organ Procurement and Transplantation Network Act. It was an amazing effort to right a wrong when we started down this path with this legislation. Nothing was easy. No cooperation from HHS or from OPTN. Only thing they did was try to keep us from having any success in reforming the sweetheart circumstance in which they operated. I remember the day in which the Secretary of Health and Human Services, in front of our Appropriations Committee, conceded that we were right and that we had won the battle, and he was our ally in fixing the problem. But now, a few short months later, it's evident that that's not the case when it comes to the implementation of the law. It's not unclear. Certainly, the organizations that we were trying to dismantle and replace with better services without a bias, certainly they knew what we were about. They know the intent of the legislation, and we know the letter of the law. My involvement in OPTM reform stemmed from concerns with the 2018 liver allocation rule HHS developed with guidance from the nation's Organ Procurement and Transplant Network, UNOS, and some New England area organ procurement organizations. The liver allocation rule that they developed led to organs being taken from areas of high donation rates, like Kansas and other rural areas, to areas with low donation rates, densely populated urban areas. It meant that people across the country were waiting longer for a transplant. It meant that in that waiting period, people died. Loved ones were gone. Not only was the liver allocation rule egregious, it demonstrated a bias of UNOS, which has had a monopoly on the Organ Transplant Network contract for over 30 years. As more documents were released through court rulings, this issue went to court. Judges ordered UNOS to respond. Those responses demonstrated in evidence incompetence and bias. It became apparent in Congress and to thousands of Americans whose lives depended upon receiving an organ someday, an organ transplant, that something was terribly amiss. Over the past year, Senator Grassley and I, along with other Senate colleagues, have worked to make congressional intent behind this legislation as clear as possible. Every senator, no one opposed this legislation, but even if you disagreed with something, every senator ought to insist that federal agencies implement the law as it is spoken in the letter of the law, and if any confusion, to look at the intent of the law. Every senator ought to demand that of every piece of legislation and every agency or department. Our goals were good: to increase the competition for this contract, to eliminate this good old boy network, and to eliminate UNOS's influence on OPTN. Unfortunately, in roundtables and committee hearings, both HRSA Administrator Carol Johnson and HHS Secretary affirmed their understanding of Congress's intent. That's not the unfortunate part. It's that they affirmed it, but now don't live by it. They assured us that they shared our goals of increasing competition for OPTN bids and removing the abundance of conflicts of interest. As HRSA starts this process of implementing the bill, it's become clear what they told us must be not what they meant. HRSA's decided that competition for the broad support contract will be restricted based upon a tax status. That does not ensure fair, robust competition. It narrows the field and makes it much more likely we have the same system we had before. It is clearly contrary to Congress's clear direction. Additionally, HRSA has named the current UNOS board members as members of the new, quote, independent board. With these announcements, HRSA has made it clear they do not intend to follow the law. Instead, HRSA has decided to remain in lockstep with UNOS, an organization that's completely proven, to be undeserving of running our nation's transplant program. This isn't just some bureaucracy that's doing something that doesn't make sense to us. This is an agency, a bureaucracy, a system that is damaging the capability of Kansans and Americans to get life-saving treatment with the transplant of an organ. I expect, I ask, I insist, demand HRSA to resolve our concerns by working with us in a timely fashion to implement the bill according to congressional intent, according to the letter of law, and ensuring that UNOS does not maintain its dangerous stronghold over the network. Congress passed this legislation because we knew that thousands of lives were at stake, thousands of lives of Americans who were on a waiting list to receive life-saving organs. This law requires transparent, competitive contract process. But HRSA must get it right. The American people deserve a fair and effective organ transplant process that saves lives and best serves patients who are waiting for an organ. I can't think, again, it saddens me so much to know the number of people who thanked us, who contacted us to tell us thank you for giving us hope that we will have an organ to transplant to save the lives of our mother, our father, our sister, our brother, our grandparents. What better time of the year than this holiday season, this Christmas season, in which we ought to restore that great gift called hope to these people who wait today for a better answer than what we see to date from our Department of Health and Human Services. Madam President, I again thank Senator Grassley for his leadership. I appreciate the opportunity I've had to work with him side by side. I commend him for his work that predates me, all for the well-being of people from his state, Madam President, your state, the people of my state, people of America. Please, please do this in a way that saves lives and gives hope for a better future for all Americans. Thank you.